What's up, guys? It's Waves here. I got a little bit of a different video for y'all today. I know Reddit readings have got pretty popular on YouTube, so I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be doing a Quora reading. So I don't know if you guys know Quora. It's basically like Yahoo Answers. Found this myself browsing through Quora. As a doctor, have you ever treated a patient you absolutely despised? Some of these answers, I mean, they're pretty boring, right? They're just doctors saying like, oh, this guy did something really awful to me. Okay. We get down here, though, to Adam F., and he says, hi, there were 3 patients I despised, but I found out I despised them after I treated them. The first patient was a 27-year-old female. She needed a valvular surgery to keep the diseased valves that she had. I operated and fixed her issues. Keep in mind, I'm an Ohio State alum and fanatic. After the operation and she was feeling better within a few days, she came to talk to me and she told me that she is a Michigan alum. I kept my feelings inside and told myself that if she needed any future assistance, I would refer her to another doctor. The second patient was a 48-year-old male. He needed an aortic surgery to replace a few aneurysms that he had. I operated and fixed the issues. Afterwards, this ungrateful clown never once thanked me for it. I didn't say anything about it. The third patient was a 40-year-old who was transferred from prison to have a myectomy. He needed for me to remove a portion of his enlarged heart wall. The operation was a success, and he thanked me. I asked the prison guard what he was in prison for, and the guard tells me that he was serving a 20-year sentence for 2 counts of child abuse. The dude was a POS. So at this point, I'm like, okay, the only thing that I found a little funny here was this first one, right, where he's talking about he doesn't want to treat somebody because they went to a college with an opposing sports team. So I went down to the comments of this one, and Judy Dushhoff here actually pretty much said exactly what I was thinking. You know, I hope you're joking with number 1. I thought you must be, but then your other 2 points were clearly serious. Now I'm not so sure. To which he responds, you have no idea about me. Go to my profile and read my pinned answer about why I am going through a divorce right now. There is no humor in me. As someone who is trolling Quora, looking for a spicy little meatball to put in my gaping mouth hole, this is exactly what I'm looking for. So immediately, of course, I went on over to Adam F's profile on Quora and found his pinned answer, which we have here, called, why did you cheat on your spouse? Now, this is really a pretty amazing one, guys. And this really opens up the Adam F saga from doctor who maybe doesn't like his patients that much to, serial adulterer for one. But yeah, let's just get right into this because I will keep it, a bit of a surprise, but here we go. Why did you cheat on your spouse? Because after her second miscarriage, she quit giving me attention, affection, and was depriving me of the physical intimacy that I was badly needing. I have explained my situation so many times over the course of the last 3 weeks, so I will explain it again. My soon-to-be ex-wife did not forgive me for cheating on her with one of her best friends. I worked as a cardiologist, and I am 38 years old. My wife is an assistant district attorney for our county. We have been married for 16 years and have 3 kids, ages 19, 14, and 11. We first met during freshman orientation in college. The second time that we saw each other was during a fraternity party a few weeks later. That night, we were both drunk and went back to my dorm room and had a one-night stand. A few weeks later, she finds me on campus and tells me that she is pregnant with our daughter. My soon-to-be ex-wife tells me that she will keep the baby, as her and her parents talked it over for hours. Her parents wanted her to finish her degree. We started to get to know each other and then date. I still didn't have a car at the time. Her parents raised our daughter as we were close to finishing undergrad. The relationship between us blossomed, and before senior year, we got engaged. My soon-to-be ex-wife's former close friend, who would end up being a pediatrician, congratulated us. We got married after graduation. While I was attending medical school, and my soon-to-be ex-wife was attending law school, she was pregnant with our second daughter. After we graduated, she was pregnant with our son. We were happy. And as we were starting our careers, with me eventually becoming a cardiologist and her being an assistant prosecutor, we already had 3 kids. In 2010, she suffered a miscarriage, and I was there to side and comfort her like a good husband should be. 3 years later, she had another miscarriage, and I tried to comfort her again, but she became distant. My wife quit showing me affection and attention and kept denying me of sex. I got to a point where I was sleeping on the couch. I played soccer in college and during our marriage. I enjoyed jogging a lot. One day, I came home from jogging, and my wife was there with 6 of her closest friends, including her now former close friend, the pediatrician. The pediatrician asked me if she could be my jogging partner, and my soon-to-be ex-wife says that she has no problem with it. My soon-to-be ex-wife's former close friend, the pediatrician, and I started jogging together for weeks, and I started confiding in her that my marriage has been strained as my wife is becoming distant, and she is not showing me attention or affection, and is denying me sex. My soon-to-be ex-wife's former close friend, the pediatrician, is married to my former teammate and roommate in college, and he was my former friend. They have 2 kids. She tells me that her marriage has become more strained also. We started hanging out together other than jogging. We started texting for hours, going on months, and then I tell her that I am sexually attracted to her, and she felt the same way. We began a full-blown affair which lasted for 3.5 years. Her and I would have sex in motels, the backseat of each other's cars, and at each other's houses when our spouses and kids weren't home. I fell in love with my wife's best friend, the pediatrician. However, 35 months into the affair, I started a 7-month affair with a married nurse who works with me at the hospital. She's a mother of a 3-year-old son. She told me that she is unhappy with her marriage. Here is where everything falls apart. The married nurse tells me that she would leave her husband for me, and I should leave my wife. I told her that I don't love her, and that she was just one small indiscretion. I also told her that I had been having a long-term affair with a pediatrician who is my wife's best friend. Exactly 2 weeks later, my soon-to-be ex-wife's now former close friend, the pediatrician, meets me in the car and told me that she will not live this type of life sneaking around, and ended the affair. I was devastated. After I came home from work, I sent her husband, my former friend, a vicious email telling him that his wife and I had been having a 3.5-year affair. I also downloaded text messages that his wife and I had shared during the course of the affair, along with naked selfies that his wife had sent me and a video that I recorded on my phone of his wife giving me head in the backseat of my car. I attached it to the email and told him to have a nice life and that our friendship is over. Since my soon-to-be ex-wife is an assistant district attorney, she came home late from the courthouse, and when she came home, she angrily confronts me, saying that her now former close friend's husband sent her a few texts saying that his wife and I had had an affair for 3.5 years, and that I had sent him a detailed email describing our affair. My wife was devastated, and she asked me how could I do this to her. She was one of her best friends. I told her that she wasn't paying attention to me anymore, and quit showing me affection, and quit giving me sex. I told her that her close friend paid attention to me and met my needs. I put all the blame on my wife. I then told my soon-to-be ex-wife that I had a 7-month affair with a married nurse who works with me at the hospital. Her and I both went from room to room arguing and cussing each other out, and then she asked for a divorce. She threw me out of the house and tells me that she will take the house, get custody of our 2 youngest kids, and take me to the cleaners. She took her wedding ring off and handed it to me. I found another place to live. My soon-to-be ex-wife broke the news to our oldest daughter, who is now a sophomore in college, and told her why we are divorcing. My oldest daughter doesn't talk to me anymore. When I call my soon-to-be ex-wife to talk to my 2 youngest kids, she asks them if they want to talk to their dad, and they say no. My soon-to-be ex-wife and her former close friend, the pediatrician, no longer speak to each other. This is the punishment that I get for marrying a woman who would eventually become an assistant prosecutor. While the affair with my soon-to-be ex-wife's former close pediatrician friend was going on, I kept up with all 3 of my kids' schedule along with work. I would give her former best friend the week's schedule for when I was available, unless I was called at the hospital at a moment's notice. My marriage was falling apart. She didn't even want me in our own bed. I was getting absolutely frustrated, so most of the time when my wife was in the shower, I would scroll through her phone to see if there was any other guy, but there wasn't. I was on a soccer scholarship for Ohio State 20 years ago, and I was an in-state student. My wife was an out-of-state student attending Ohio State. She's from Indianapolis. Her and one of her former best friends, the pediatrician, both came from Indianapolis to attend Ohio State. Even though I also focused on soccer back in high school, I was an introvert. My wife was more of a social person in college. I had a strict mother who didn't want me to date until I turned 18. However, I had my first girlfriend when I was in my senior year of high school. She played soccer at my high school. However, that relationship only lasted 4 months. Other than playing soccer, I came to Ohio State as a biology major. During freshman orientation, when I met my wife, She told me that she came as a political science major. When we saw each other during the fraternity party, we talked more and had a few things in common. I ended up making the mistake of having drank too much and both going back to my dorm. She told me the next morning that she had a boyfriend who was a freshman at the time at Purdue. However, when she told me that she was pregnant and keeping the baby, announced that she had broke up with her boyfriend, and I told her that I liked her and want to get to know her more and pursue a relationship. I still didn't have a car during this time. I don't know why this guy's so obsessed with owning a car, but he just points out that he doesn't have a car at various points. Okay, anyway, our daughter was born in the middle of summer after freshman year. We went to her parents' house in Indianapolis and spent a month with the baby before sophomore year started. We left our daughter with her parents and came to visit her during every break and weekend there was. My wife's parents did not like me, and neither did her two sisters. We were engaged before senior year, and we got married after graduating with our undergrad. I got accepted into University of Cincinnati College of Medicine, but I did not get accepted into any medical schools in Indiana. My wife got accepted into a few law schools in Indiana, as well as University of Cincinnati School of Law. She wanted to live with me, so she stayed in Ohio, and we would see our daughter every chance we had. We lived in the same apartment in Cincinnati, and then she got pregnant with our second daughter. She took a semester off from law school to go back to Indianapolis and spend time with our oldest daughter and our newborn. After we both graduated, we had our son. We took all three of our kids as I started up my residency in Columbus, Ohio, and got a condominium up there. As I finished my residency, we bought a house. One thing that I never told my wife was that I had a brief fling with the young realtor that sold us the house. I felt bad and kept my mouth shut. In 2013, when she had the second miscarriage, it hurt me that she kept pushing me away, and I sought solace in my wife's former friend, the pediatrician. The pediatrician was married to my former teammate in college and my former roommate and former friend. They have 2 kids. I heard they are divorcing also. The affair with the married nurse that lasted for 7 months was a mistake. She was clingy. When my wife asked for divorce, I felt that my manhood was gone. I was no longer in control of what I had in the house. My wife told me that she never cheated on me. If my wife had an affair, I would have been extremely angry. I am a good father and I love my kids. Her former close friend, the pediatrician, blocked my number after her husband received the email in which I told him that I had a 3.5-year affair with his wife. I felt that my wife's former close friend understood me. I fell in love with her. While the affair was going on, she told me that her relationship with my wife did not change. Any time that she came over to our house, she maintained eye contact with my wife and didn't act nervous. I told her that I love her, but she told me that she will not leave her husband. I cut my relationship with my strict mother after I got married. I only allowed her to see my oldest daughter. I didn't ask her to see her 2 youngest grandchildren. The day my wife asked for a divorce, she told me that she had been sending photos of all my mother's grandchildren without my knowledge because my wife felt my mother needed to know who her grandchildren were. My wife also told me during the times she would take all the kids and run errands for hours, she would actually take them to my mother's house and told my mother to never tell me about it. I had not spoke to my mother in 15 years and we live 135 miles away. I took care of my children and bought them whatever they needed. I helped them with their schoolwork. My wife told me the day everything came out that when her parents told her that they don't like me, she felt that I would be a great husband and father. My wife said the reason that she felt that way was that before I met her, I had one other girlfriend and was inexperienced in relationships. She told her parents and her sisters that she strongly believed that an affair would be the last thing to ever happen. Anytime I see my mother-in-law, I see my own mother's face. I came to the conclusion that if I had a car in high school and my mother wasn't so strict on when I could date, I would have been a faithful husband. I felt entitled to be with my wife's best friend. My goal growing up as a kid was to attend Ohio State and be a Buckeye. My mother wanted me to attend a better academic school. I feel if I had more relationships in high school, I would have been a better husband. My psychiatrist told me 3 months ago that I have serious resentment towards my mother. What was frustrating about my wife after her second miscarriage was that instead of paying attention to me, she was going to stores and bringing back expensive shoes and clothes. Her expensive shopping habit was really getting on my nerves. Her and I got into a big argument over that. She would buy clothes and she didn't even need them. I'm worried that my daughters will pick up her habit. I thought it was just a phase that she was going through. During the first year that the affair with her close friend was going on, my wife had asked me one morning if I still loved her. She also asked me, is there another woman? I reacted crazy to hide my guilt. During the 3 Valentine's days, the pediatrician and I would make excuses to avoid being with our spouses, and we would spend it at an expensive restaurant. And I would give her roses and jewelry, and then we would spend it at a motel room. I would tell my wife that I had to be at work. I wish that my wife didn't push me away. None of my own children want anything to do with me. That hurts a lot. My soon-to-be ex-wife and her former friend, the pediatrician, no longer speak to each other. My soon-to-be ex-wife is trying to take me to the cleaners. She threw me out of the house in Columbus. She's trying to get full custody of our 2 youngest kids. All of my 3 beloved children want nothing to do with me. She's alienated all 3 of our kids against me. My 19-year-old daughter, who is now finishing up her sophomore year at Ohio State, doesn't want to speak to me. My 14-year-old daughter doesn't want anything to do with me. My 11-year-old son doesn't want to speak to me. I feel depressed at times. My infidelities destroyed our marriage. I don't know how to cope. I hate my life. Well, that's definitely quite a saga from Adam. Now, when I originally read this, I found it pretty incredible because he writes it in this way where he's very he's trying to justify himself, but at least to me, there's very little to justify. Like maybe he felt emotionally distant from his wife or whatever, but that's obviously not a reason to have like a 3.5-year affair and then like multiple affairs going on at the same time. And he was already cheating on her like before any of the stuff that he cites as issues. So really, I was kind of like, what's this guy's deal? So I went on over to his profile where you can kind of see all the questions someone has answered. And I went through a lot of them. I didn't go through all of them, but what I'll tell you is, frankly, a lot of this, he must be like copy pasting or something, or he just is saying the exact same thing again and again. Because certain phrases like this bit about his different children not wanting to speak with him, he posts verbatim elsewhere. And then he'll have like a short sentence, commenting on the actual question someone's asking. So the only one that I found that was particularly interesting is one that maybe will give us a little insight into Adam's behavior and kind of what has led him to do what he's doing. So this last one here is called, Why Am I Addicted to Meth? And here's Adam's answer. This is the best drug to use for when having sex. I had sex with my soon-to-be ex-wife while I was high on this. She had no idea that I used this. I had sex with my soon-to-be ex-wife's now former close friend who is a married pediatrician while I was high on this. I had sex with a married nurse who works with me at the hospital while I was high on this. My soon-to-be ex-wife, who is an assistant prosecutor for our county, has read my answers on Quora, and I'm assuming she's going to see this. Hey, the cat's out of the bag. So I don't know the extent to which meth has played a negative role in Adam's life, but obviously, like, kids don't do meth. Anybody listening to this, don't do meth. Like, I grew up in the Midwest myself. As a lot of the context clues provide here, this is also something that happened in the Midwest. If this actually happened at all, and this is not just some BS someone made up on the internet. But yeah, I mean, really, like, don't even try meth. Like, literally, I know it's such a dumb thing to say almost, but really, really don't do meth. It will fuck your whole life up. I don't know, the extent to which meth is the problem in this guy's life versus other factors. But yeah, kids don't do meth. Anyway, I hope this little rabbit hole here has been entertaining for everyone. I know there's a little bit of a long video, probably even longer than some of the Reddit readings you see out here, just because Adam had a lot to say. Frankly, a lot of it being somewhat redundant, but you got to have the full Adam F experience. So, big shouts out to everyone who made it this far. Please subscribe for more videos like this. More chopped and slowed music videos, pretty much whatever I feel like making. But it's going to be quality content. Thanks a lot, guys. Waves out.